Hello, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to Satsang. Satsang is an ancient spiritual practice from India. It means being in reality together. I give Satsang live every Wednesday and Sunday night in Portland, Maine. This Dharma talk was recorded during one of our Wednesday night gatherings. Please visit jayakula.org to learn more about the teachings. You can find video satsangs on Jayakula's YouTube channel, and my books are all available on Amazon.com. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. In many spiritual traditions, there's this idea that we want to get away from this plane of existence. That somehow what we call the human realm or human life or planet Earth or samsara, whatever you want to say, that somehow it's degraded, unpleasant, it's full of suffering, and our only job here as spiritual practitioners is to get out of here. And that, success is measured in how quickly we leave. This kind of tradition is called a transcendental tradition. A transcendental tradition makes a distinction between one aspect of reality and another. So in a transcendental tradition, heaven, or as it's called in the Indian tradition, sometimes Brahma Loka or Nirvana, whatever you want to call that other place that we're supposed to be trying to get to, that is fundamentally somehow different from what's happening here. This is sinful and awful, and what's happening in Brahma Loka or Satya Loka or heaven or Nirvana is better and different and more pure. So this is a transcendental tradition, and this is not this tradition. In this tradition, we have a different idea. Through yogic practice, we have the experience that every aspect of reality is made of the same thing. Everything is made of consciousness and energy. You, me, this altar, a Humvee outside, a polluted river, a sinful, adulterous person, all made of the same consciousness and energy. And so that there is a fundamental equality among every manifestation of life. And we are trying to realize that. When we have the experience and the understanding that there is a fundamental equality because everything is Purna Brahma Narayani, made of consciousness and energy. That's what that means. Purna Brahma Narayani. Brahma meaning consciousness, representing consciousness, and Narayani representing Shakti or energy. Right? Full of. Purna means full of. Everything is full of consciousness and energy. No matter what it is, whether it's heinous and sinful and horrible and unpleasant, or ecstatic and wonderful and beautiful. It's all made of the same thing. So if we have that experience and we have that understanding, then we do not need to go anywhere. If everything's made of the same thing, we can go to nirvana, but it's going to be made of the same thing as samsara. And in fact, in the traditions, the Tibetan traditions that are similar to the Indian tradition that I've been mainly trained in, which is Trika Shaivism or Kashmir Shaivism, in the Tibetan traditions like Dzogchen, there's a saying that samsara and nirvana are both obstacles. Both of them having an idea that there's something called samsara and something called nirvana. Both of those ideas are obstacles. Because again, you're introducing this dualism, this transcendental way of approaching life. And you're basically saying that nirvana is made of something different than samsara, so we should try to get over there as quickly as we possibly can. And this is considered to be what's called false view. It's based on just an idea about reality, not on direct experience of reality. Sometimes then, when people get into this kind of tradition, a direct realization tradition, where we're not having ideas about reality, we are actually just doing things to try to directly experience what it is, Sometimes then people hear this idea that everything is equality, everything is consciousness and energy, and the oneness idea, right? And then we think, well, I should be experiencing everything as one all the time. There was a question, the successor of Swami Satyananda, who's the founder of my Diksha lineage, my initiation lineage. He died a couple of years ago. But his successor, Swami Niranjanananda, somebody asked him once in a satsang, when you look out at us, are you just seeing lights everywhere? Do you even see us? Are you just seeing an ocean of oneness? And he just laughed and he said, no, I'm just seeing everybody normally. Anandamayama, my Satguru, she famously said, I am both limited and unlimited. I am both limited and unlimited. Even in her totally enlightened state, she said, I am limited. Oh my God, what can that mean? If we're still going to be limited when we're enlightened, what's the point? Well, what Swami Niranjan was speaking to and what Ma was speaking to is that when we have this direct experience of reality without our fixations, without our karmas, then we are still experiencing all the variety of everything. We are not just experiencing this undifferentiated ocean of oneness. We are getting to enjoy now everything that's happening without our karmas, without our compulsions, without our fixations. I know. But we still can be here and enjoy this. Right? Swami Satyananda said, there is no noise in the city and there is no peace in the Himalayas. Everything is equality. The city and the Himalayas are equal as phenomena. They are just both phenomena of this consciousness and energy. Likewise, your form, your particular personality, all the things that make up your unique dimension in this realm, how you have manifested now, is also coming out of that perfection of consciousness and energy. There's nothing to run away from. You can enjoy that if you enjoy it from a different perspective. So I want to read something from Swami Lakshmanju. Swami Lakshmanju was a inheritor of the Kashmiri Shaivite tradition. He was a 20th century teacher, very beloved by many people, and he gave many wonderful teachings and did many great translations. His English was not so good, so he's actually commenting here on a little piece of the Bhagavad Gita about this topic that I'm talking about right now. And his English is a little stilted, but in any case, that's not important. So he's saying, Krishna is saying, this is my trick. I say, everything is situated in me. And in one way, everything is situated in me. But in another way, nothing is situated in me. I'll explain this in a minute. This is my glamour. This is my trick. I only explain this trick for those for whom I have created to have it be explained to. What that means, it's a kind of his convoluted English. I only explain that you are both in me and not in me at the same time. That you are both me and not me at the same time. I only explain this to those I have created to explain it to. Those who can understand. Hi, Gina. Those who can have some understanding. Now, it's often said in the direct realization traditions that anybody who shows up at one of these teachings has the capacity to understand it. That you have to have had some past life preparation in order to receive these kind of teachings. Because these kind of teachings are, a little bit of a brain buster, right? They're not that straightforward if you're only using your mind. But if you're able to listen with your wisdom heart, you can feel the reality of them. You can feel the truth of them. So what Krishna is saying here in the Bhagavad Gita, according to Swami Lakshmanju's interpretation, is that You are all me. You are all God. You are all perfect from the beginning. You are all unlimited, perfected Krishna consciousness, Shiva nature, whatever you want to call it, Christ consciousness, doesn't matter. You are all that, but you are all also not that because you don't know what you are. You have forgotten me. Swami Lakshmana goes on to say that Krishna is saying, I have inserted in your brain. That's not what it actually says in the Bhagavad Gita, but this is Swami Lakshmana, right? I have inserted in your brain the duty of remembering me day and night, and you will try to do it. There are two beings residing in each and every individual. You. One is the individual who is polished with limitation. I'm not exactly sure what he meant by that, but one is our normal self that we think we are. You know, the one who's like obsessed with this and that, fixated on this and that, running around like a nut, overthinking everything, projecting, getting into lots of trouble with your karmas. That's the one individual. Right. But the other is unlimited being, who is existing at the same time there in each and every object. There are two beings, unlimited and limited. Because unlimited being is the life of everything that is. Unlimited being is the life of everything that is. You are all made of perfected consciousness and energy, totally awake, totally enlightened, expressing itself as you. You are also all created by that unlimited consciousness imposing limitations on experience, imposing limitations on unlimited experience as a form of creativity. And the analogy might be like making a pot out of some clay, right? You have a lump of clay, that's the whole lump. But in order to make a pot, you have to take some away, right? You have to carve the pot out. You have to limit that lump in some way. It can't just remain there. So in the same way, in order for you to have the experience of you, some limitation has to be put on unlimitedness. And the only issue is that you have forgotten what you are made of. Once you remember, then all of your so-called limitations aren't limitations at all anymore. They're just creative expressions. And you can enjoy everything. So this is not a transcendental tradition. It's what's called an immanent tradition. Immanence means that God is immanent. God is arising from everything, and everything is made out of God. So this is the difference between an immanent tradition and a transcendental tradition. A transcendental tradition says there are two distinct realms, the yucky realm and the wonderful, blissful realm. And you just need to move, catch the train from this one to that one, right? And don't ever look back. An immanent tradition, a tradition of immanence, I-M-M-A-N something, E-N-C-E, thank you, says everything is made of, is full of, and comes out of that base state of unconditioned, uncontrived, what we say naturalness or livingness. Right? It's another way of talking about it. We don't have to say God. You can say God if you want. You can just say livingness. Awake, aware, livingness. Everything is made of that, is full of that, and is emerging from that. And so when you wake up, you discover that. And then all of these limitations that you're experiencing become more like colors on a palette of a painter rather than things you're suffering from. So nothing changes other than the fact that you're no longer suffering. And you have tremendous freedom because you aren't attached any longer to particular ways of being. You can do things that other people might not want to do. Like move from Portland, Oregon to Portland, Maine. And just go, ha, 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 that's really funny. totally. You can play around with that. You can, but you can't have them in the same way that you had them before, right? So we all, each of us have a unique dimension, and we're all going to be in human bodies until we die. Hopefully we're not going to get possessed by some other kind of being. And that means we're always going to have some patterns that are, there. You like one, chocolate donut better than a cinnamon donut. I don't know. But you won't care about it anymore. You may have some karma running, I want a cinnamon donut, not a chocolate donut. But if someone says, let's get chocolate donuts, you're like, okay, whatever. You don't really care about your preference anymore. It just is like another pattern, and you can walk away from it when you want to. And you can also have those patterns and not care about doing anything about them. Now the problem is, and the reason why I'm talking about this is to give you the people that haven't been around that much, some idea of what makes this tradition what it is, but also because, in the transcendental traditions, people can really just get into self-hatred and, world hating and body hating and food hating and all kinds of pleasure hating. That's sort of the hallmark of the transcendental traditions. The hallmark of this kind of tradition, when people are just using the tradition to run their fixations, people who get into the transcendental traditions and just go to town on self-hatred and body hatred and pleasure hatred, they're using that tradition to run their fixations, right? Not to actually wake up. They're actually deepening their karma in the tradition, right? People can do that in this kind of tradition too. And that's by skipping over the fact that we have to deal with the relative experience. We cannot just go, everything's one, and everything's God, and everything's bliss, and everything's already awake and already enlightened, so screw it. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do any sadhana, any spiritual practice. I'm just going to use those teachings like slogans, it's all one, everything's of one taste. This is just intellectualizing something that is actually a direct experience. And when you have that direct experience, you understand that we are always doing exactly what Ma said. We are being limited and unlimited at the same time. We have to deal with our limitations. We have to work in the mud and the nitty-gritty of our real lives as we are experiencing them, without fantasy, without what's called spiritual bypassing. Using the teachings in some mental way to try to get out of doing the work of actually dealing with ourselves. So the beautiful thing about this kind of tradition is you get to actually deal with yourself. Because we put just as much importance on the relative experience, on the limited experience, as we do on, uncontrived, enlightened experience. We think they're actually, when you get to the end of the day, they're equal, right? All of the limitations that we experience are all the product of God. They're all an expression of enlightened mind. So there really is no such thing as limited experience. But when we are still stuck in the perception that we are limited, we have to deal with that. We have to deal with that. So this becomes not a tradition where we're going, it's all one, it's all bliss, it's all great, everybody enjoy themselves, and if you don't, there's something wrong with you. We don't do that. We're actually very, very nitty-gritty and down to earth and dealing with everyday stuff, like how you relate to people and how you clean your room and how you cook your food and what's going on in your mind and what's going on with your emotions and how you move and your fears and your all the different things that go on. We're dealing with that stuff in a very nitty-gritty, real way because we know that from that we can discover our own real essence nature from doing that. It's not somewhere else. It's right here with us in this life as we're living it. And we can discover our own essence nature by paying attention to our lives right now as they really are. So that's the mistake that people make with the transcendental traditions is getting into these extreme states of abnegation and missing the whole point that it's all about love. And then, the thing that they can get into in this kind of tradition is going to that oneness thing and forgetting about they actually have to deal with their lives. And so we don't forget that. We understand that we are both limited and unlimited, and that even the enlightened person is still looking at you and seeing you as you really are, showing up in this manifest life. What you will have an experience of is profound relaxation and lightness of being and creativity and freedom. And then, now and then you can see everything as an ocean of light. That does happen. But you're going to come back. You're always going to come back to this and living here and doing this with other people. And this is great. As Swami Lakshmanju says, this is the glamour of God. This is the beauty of God. This is the art of God. We are the artistic creations of God. And we will learn to enjoy ourselves by discovering who we really are. Jayakula is a nonprofit community offering opportunities to learn and practice in the direct realization traditions of Trika Shaivism and Dzogchen. We are based in Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon. Visit jayakula.org to explore more of our offerings.